prosperity has to filter down for the benefit of all. Good, healthy, vibrant business economy creates jobs and creates opportunity. But for this international vision to occur, we've got to do some things. First thing we've got to do is make this city safe. You can't be a great city unless you're a safe city. And crime in Houston, crime in our region, is becoming an albatross around our neck. We've got to do something. It destroys the very fabric of us as human beings and really impacts the economics of the region. So as your mayor, I will spend a lot of time, money, and effort trying to make sure that this city is safe. There are a number of things that I've addressed on our website and in articles that I won't take time to repeat here, but essentially, we have to get back to first neighborhood policing. We have to make sure that our police officers have the highest and best technology available. We have to recruit the finest young men and women to serve us. And we have to get the various law enforcement agencies working together. That's city, county, constables, metro police, everybody working together. We've got to work to make this city safe. So let's go through our checklist of things that we have to do to make this a great international city. And we're checking off first crime. Let's also check off economic development and being aggressive in trying to get business into Houston. If I am your mayor, I will be aggressive in trying to make sure that Houston is seen across the world as a place that is good to do business. But I will also be a mayor who will try to recruit American businesses in other cities into Houston. And I will not be afraid to use tax rebates and tax incentives as a mechanism to get new business into Houston when it is reasonable and fair and can be contractually enforceable. I'll also be big on small business and small business development. So check off business prosperity, business development, something we need to do to be a great international city. Now let's go to some of the harder things, what I call quality of life issues that are kind of intangible, but collectively they serve as the reason why we love the city and we want to be here. Let's start with transportation. We have to have a better way of moving people around in the city and in Harris County. That means that we have to work on all spheres of transportation. Certainly our public transportation, whether it's light rail, whether it's buses, whether it's commuter systems, either park and ride or commuter rail, we have to find a better way to move people from one employment center to the other in a much more efficient way. And we have to do it in a way that is environmentally friendly and cost effective. Your candidates, when they're running for mayor, will have a laundry list of things that sound good to people about what we ought to do. I have my list of things that I would like to do. But we don't live in a perfect world, we live in a real world. In a real world, things cost money. So you can't do everything that you want to do. You can tell people from a podium, I'm running for mayor and I'm going to do these 5 things for you, and never have to tell people how they're paid for. I won't do that as a candidate, and I won't do that as mayor. I'll try to determine those things that we can reasonably afford, what's in the best interest of this region, what moves the vision forward, and pursue those. Transportation is an issue. Second issue is education. Now, in talking to many of you this morning, it seems to me, I've just got a hunch, most folks here have been past the first, second, or third grade, that there are some really educated folks in this room. And that is great, that is tremendous. That is not necessarily true for all Houstonians. Our task is to make education affordable and available for all Houstonians. As your mayor, I'm not going to run the school districts, and I wouldn't try to do that. But I have, as your mayor, an obligation to make sure that educational opportunities are there, because we're trying to get this great international city, this hub of international commerce with new economic opportunities. You can't have that unless you have a skilled, trained workforce. So, whether you like it or not, your local leaders have to work together to improve the educational opportunities and educational attainment for Houstonians. And I will work in that arena. But beyond education, beyond transportation, we need to work on environmental issues. We are the custodians, the shepherds, if you will, the stewards of our environment. We have to make sure that we do our part, large and small, to make sure that our planet, that our communities are taken care of. I will be big on environmental protections as your mayor. And one of the things that I will be really green on is, in terms of quality of life, is just providing opportunities for people to have green space, to have parks, to have the kinds of things that go with living in a big city. We're fortunate in Houston that we do have a lot of green space, and we need to keep that. We're equally blessed that we have some level of parks. We need to expand those so that we can build neighborhoods around those parks. Which gets me to the next discussion, and an important discussion. Houston as a place where people live. Most of us think of Houston as a region, and we think of some of the fine neighborhoods that we have around the city of Houston, where possibly many of you live. My goal as mayor is to make sure that the neighborhoods inside the city of Houston are as competitive as the neighborhoods outside the city of Houston. Said differently, I want every homeowner, when making a decision on where to live, to be able to tick off 10 neighborhoods in Houston and say, these are fine places that I would want to live and raise my family. Which means that the mayor has to spend the time and the effort to get to know those communities and figure out what needs to be done to protect and or develop and or revitalize each of them. And I will work very hard in each one of those areas. Now, let's get to some really hard stuff in terms of being a great international city. People and the relationships of people. We exist in the same space, but our greatness is challenged if we don't respect each other. It's one thing to say, I respect you. It's another thing to say, I understand and respect you. Why is that important? It's because we want a city where people can live, express themselves, express their culture, their religion, their way of life, in a way that is readily accepted by their neighbor. So, as your mayor, I will